one game that the other teams have, those 16 seats, they're looking at that one game. It's like, this is all we have to play for. Just everything. Sometimes they get close. Like Holy Cross against Duke a couple of years ago. I really wish they had won. Would have made me happy.
16 seed has never beaten a 1 seed, of course, in the NCAA tournament.
No kidding.
Probably heard it like 100 times over the weekend while they were talking about it. But,
yeah.
Other, I don't know, kind of tournament related. In the women's game, it was the University of Tennessee. They're coming in the 27 years they have not lost in the first or second round, and they get beat by tournament newcomer representing the Mid-American Conference, the Ball State Cardinals.
Okay.
So
who does Tennessee have on their team right now?
The first time Ball State enters this tournament, they beat the one team that has never lost in the first or second round of the tournament ever.
Okay.
So big ups to the Ball State University Lady Cardinals on their win. That was a 12 versus 5 game.
Well, the connected story that I didn't put on my list, but that I did read about, Ball State's quarterback Nate Davis, who's taken the jump to the NFL after his junior year. Ball State went undefeated the first 13 games of the season, and then lost to Buffalo in the MAC championship, and then I can't remember who they played in the bowl game, but they lost big there too. One team showed up for his pro day workout. One. The Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
That is pathetic. For somebody that's coming out of school a year early because he thinks that he's ready for the NFL, now it's looking like he's going to go undrafted.
Well, yeah.
It sucks for him. He's not a very smart person.
Okay.
So that was kind of my related note to Ball State.
All right. So you just connected women's college basketball with football.
Yep. Won't ever happen again.
I don't know. Maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
Trying to find something here.
Your brain.
Yes.
I do know that Michigan State's still in the women's tourney too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. They won their first game the other night, come from behind against Mid-Tennessee State.
Yeah.
And that was at the Breslin Center, even though that Michigan State was the 9 seed. That was at the Breslin Center. Today they take on 1-seeded Duke. That is on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock. So number 9 Michigan State, number 1 Duke, 7 o'clock ESPN2 on the women's tournament. So you have a couple days off here.
Of the men's stuff.
Of the men's.
Yeah. You watch women. It's a very different game to watch. I've watched a few games in the past. It is a very different style. It's
very up tempo because
I would say it's much more like the
30
international game in terms of the way that it's played. I mean, just emphasis on guards and shooting rather than big men and down low.
Right. There's a 30-second shot clock instead of a 35-second shot clock.
I think the 35 is ridiculous, and it needs to be shortened in the men's side. You can literally run two or three different plays for every play shot. For every shot clock that you have on the men's side.
Okay. Other notes about the women's tournament: all the 1 seeds are in action today. Utah, the 9 seed, taking on number 1 Maryland. Number 1 UConn, undefeated, 34-0. They're taking on number 8 Florida, and number 1 Oklahoma taking on number 9 Georgia Tech. So all number 1 seeds are in action today, the second day of the second round. Other games: number 10 Minnesota out of the Big Ten taking on number 2 Texas A&M, and Ball State riding high on their victory over Tennessee. They're taking on number 4 Iowa State, and number 6 LSU taking on number 3 Louisville, and rounding out the action, South Dakota State, the 7th seed, taking on number 2 Baylor. So lots of basketball action. It starts at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. Second game start at about 9:30.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't really have much more.
No, I was hoping you'd be somewhat prepared for college basketball. I mean, you've had a whole 2 weeks to prep for the show now.
I don't know. I watched a lot of games.
So what team? Okay, how about this then? What team has most impressed you so far that you didn't think would?
Team that impressed me the most. Do they have to still be in it?
No.
Well, they're still in it anyway. I'm gonna say Arizona.
Yeah. Have you actually watched any other game?
No.
We'll see. Then I don't know. Okay, how about this team
But-
that you watched on the court that impressed you when you didn't think that they would?
I'm gonna bring up the bracket. Hold on.
Andy.
Wow. Well, Siena did look good over Ohio State. That was a great ball game, double overtime.
And they were very good against Louisville as well.
Right, losing by 7. I'm going to say Siena. Siena impressed me.
I'm going to say right now that Louisville has impressed me because I kept thinking that it was just the fact that they had Rick Pitino as their coach. But I'm split between them right now and UConn because I've kind of caught only glimpses of both of those teams. But UConn I don't have a very high standing about. I have them getting knocked out this round in the Sweet 16. In the Sweet 16. Between those two teams, I don't know. I'm kind of split right now. We'll see what happens after the Sweet 16. So I'll be able to catch more of their games.
Nate says UConn.
Yeah.
Yeah, UConn has scored 103 points in their first game and 92 in their second game.
Yes. Well, I think my big thing has been their defense, especially with Hashim Thabit in the middle. I didn't have any respect for him before the Big East tournament, after the Big East tournament. Now, after these 2 games, I have a little bit more respect for him in terms of what he can do on the court. But, I don't know. UConn still got something to prove to me in terms of being able to close out a game.
Maybe close out a game.
Close out
close
out a tight game. Close out a tight game. They haven't had a tight game yet.
That's true. Although they did close against Michigan in the regular season. They won by 8.
But it was Michigan. And Michigan is... See, here's the thing, is UConn was kind of built to beat Michigan because they had a big man to go down low, and that's the one thing Michigan kind of lacks right now.
Okay, so UConn have taken on Purdue in the second round, or in the third round, excuse me. And that should be interesting to see how that one turns out.
Okay.
But I would say out of the teams that I watched, Siena impressed me the most, although they ended up losing to Louisville. Out of the teams that I didn't watch, I'd say Arizona, because nobody expected them to be in the tournament, let alone
competed
in
it.
Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Nate says they'll lose to Purdue, talking about UConn.
Yeah, that's what I have them doing too, Nate. So, I mean, but if they win, then I'd be impressed.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. So it's 11.
It is.
We're supposed to be off the air. So for all the Nate and then whoever else was listening today, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank Nate for responding, being our third wheel today. We'll be back next week on
Hopefully.
Tuesday, right at 10 o'clock, hopefully, as long as Andy doesn't kick the computer again.
I did not kick the computer.
Well, okay, sure you did. This has been the A to Z Sports Show on WCKSTheWhale.org. He's Andy Granbo. I'm Zach Harmon, signing off for him.